everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a tremendous number of people joining tonight. My name's Colleen Galvin. I'm on the North American Small Business team here at MasterCard, and really excited to be sharing some great information with a very knowledgeable speaker, Jackie Jones from One Degree Marketing. At MasterCard, we really understand that small businesses are the backbone of the economy, and we believe that we're uniquely positioned to help those same businesses navigate the pace of change with tools that will empower you all to thrive online. One of the reasons we created the Digital Doors program was to help small business owners to pivot their business models, get online, accept digital payments. And we know many of you have done phenomenally coming out of the pandemic. But we also know that while 70% of small businesses have enhanced their digital presence, there's still probably 20% that don't have a website. And the biggest need we're hearing about is digital marketing. So our research shows that 76% of small businesses are struggling with their digital marketing strategies. That's one of the reasons why we're offering this session tonight. And it's also one of the reasons why within our new Digital Doors refreshed website, which we'll put in the chat, we created a new marketing hub with some great partners and content. So whether you want to think about working with Hootsuite to manage your social media, Visit to optimize your e-commerce images, Yield Day to use machine language to maximize your social media, or Triple Whale to manage the analytics on your Shopify site, there's something there for everyone. We also have a free ad designer tool embedded in the site. Again, I'll put the link in the chat. And that can help you with templates to design ads. It has an AI headline generator, and you can download those ads. They're formatted for specific social media platforms. So look forward to feedback on that. Just some housekeeping. There is a chat function in your attendee hub. I see some of you are chatting there already. Thank you. We'd love to hear where you're from. We are going to take questions toward the end, probably at about 6:45. I don't know that we'll get to everyone's questions, but we will do our very best. And you're going to just have the pleasure of Jackie leading you through this session. So let me tell you a little bit about Jackie Jones from One Degree Marketing. We met in Birmingham, Alabama last year when we were helping small businesses there to get ready for the World Games. And Jackie is an amazing entrepreneur like yourselves. She has been there, done that. She's started her company about 10 years ago. She knows the ins and outs of all these different platforms, and I don't need to tell you how challenging it is to keep up with all of them. She's also a great mom, and she's a military veteran. And I think you're really going to get a lot out of tonight's session. So please, if you want to answer questions, I would say wait till we're close to the end, but we will try and monitor those on an ongoing basis, and we'll queue them up for Jackie toward the end. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to hand over the mic to Jackie Jones.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Colleen, so much for that warm introduction. And thank you so much to all of you for being here. Now, she gave you some general housekeeping rules, which I'm grateful for. I'm going to give you my own set, which is I will be looking all over the place. I have 3 screens in front of me. Multitasking is definitely a myth, but I'm going to do it anyway. I am so excited that you're here. I'm looking at the chat down here. So if you see me look down, that's why, because I'm watching you. So what I need you to do is tell me in the chat where you are from so we can get a good idea of how much of these United States we are covering today. So let me know where you're from. And I'm not going to talk about myself. Before I get into this, I just want to thank the entire MasterCard team. You all have no idea how wonderful they are. Oh my goodness, Dayton, Ohio, San Diego, California, Omaha, we got Kansas in here, and Tennessee and New York, Southfield, Michigan. My goodness. Okay, listen, I just want you all to remember my face if I ever need to, a list of places to hit when I come visit. Thank you all for being here. Birmingham, I want to see you show up. Please represent me well in the chat, all right? All right, so thank you to the MasterCard team. You all have no idea how wonderful they really, really are. I get to sit on both sides of the table. I'm here with you in front of you today, but I am also a small business owner, and I have seen them do the work in many spaces, and they are such a kind and just dedicated group of people and teams that they have. I wish I knew their hiring practices. They are amazing at MasterCard. So thank you all for having me. One other thing I want to tell you before we get started, two things. One, on the other side of this glass wall is a food court, and there is a bar down there. It is happy hour around here. So if it gets rowdy, I promise that is not my team having just a party without me. So just want to let you know that. And also, I'm going to go pretty quickly because I only have 45 minutes or so to give you my entire marketing degree. So please prepare yourselves for a very, very quick time, but I'm watching you in the chat. So, hey, Tanisha, I see you, Birmingham. I see some New Orleans people. I love it. All right, do me this favor. In the chat, you're gonna get a lot of this. Tell me that you can see my screen. So give me a yes, a thumbs up, whatever makes you happy. Let me know that you can see it. Yes, yeah, thank you. I need this energy. It's like talking to myself. All right, so before we get started, I want you to know, and again, I'm not going to talk more about myself, just assume I'm qualified, okay? So my goal for this particular session is to offer you a big picture view of social media for your business. Now, I recognize that when this is titled social media marketing, you're like, oh, great, I'm going to learn how to do a very specific thing. And unfortunately, I can't give you too many specifics because there is no way that I can cover every single aspect. As Colleen stated, it changes what it feels like every single day. Please know that it's frustrating as, you know, as a person who offers social media marketing. It is a lot, but that is not what we're going to worry about. We want to be rooted in best practices. Hi, Connie, I see you there in the chat. We're rooted in best practices. And that is because as the algorithms and the platforms and all of the options you have for social media change, these things will keep you able to adjust in all the spaces. And that is my goal as a marketer, is to make sure that you are never so tied to a particular platform or the way that it moves that you cannot pivot. And I know you're tired of that word because COVID has taught us nothing. It has taught us the word pivot, and we are definitely over it. All right. So let's jump in. We're going to begin with you. You are amazing. I want you to know that you are wonderful, and I am so grateful that you're here. I also want to warn you that this section is the only time that we're going to focus on you. So sorry, but also not sorry, because we did not create businesses and organizations to serve ourselves. Now, maybe to pay ourselves, but not necessarily to serve ourselves, right? We don't buy our own products. We don't buy our own services. We are expecting other people to do that. So while we're going to start with a conversation about ourselves, this will be the only time that comes up, but it is extremely important. We cannot determine how we want to match up with an audience and how we want to show up in spaces if we don't know who we are. So prepare yourselves for the boring marketing branding 101, and let's get this started. So first of all, we'll start here. Who you are is the North Star of everything you publish, say, or do. And this is extremely important in a social space. It's important in all marketing spaces, but we always hear the phrase on brand, right? Are you on brand? Is that on brand for us? That's important because who you are, who you say you are, who you've told your audience you are, it is your responsibility to show up in that space regularly. That can be difficult if you don't have a handle on who you are and what you claim you want to be in this world. Also, great social media is built on solid marketing foundation. I cannot press that home enough. We need solid marketing things. It's all the things that you think are boring. I get excited about it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of a nerd about it, but it makes it easy and it makes it fun. So let's do all this boring stuff. Now, I know that if you have been in business for all of 5 minutes even, you have had people ask you what your mission statement is, your vision, and all of that. And if you're also like me, you have asked yourself, now, why will I ever need this, right? Raise your hand in the chat if you're like, I don't know why I'm trying to define this. This is kind of ridiculous. If you felt that way, this is a safe space. Let me know in the chat and I will Wi-Fi you. All right. So we do want to understand, though, and this is why it's important, we want to understand what our mission is, what we say we've come to do, what problem we say we've come to solve, who we're going to solve it for. All of those things that a great mission statement or vision statement are made of are really, really explaining, thank you, Alicia, for your honesty, really, really explaining to ourselves, both internally for our teams to understand. I see the hands going up. I love it. We want to understand what it is we say we're going to do. And before we can go into these social media spaces and try to show up as a particular brand or persona, before we can do that, we have got to understand all the dynamics of our personality. Think of your brand, your organization as a person. Who are we claiming to be, right? Are we saying we're trustworthy? What problem are we solving and how are we going to solve it? Who is it for? All of that happens in the boring process of a mission statement, but that's why it's important. It is your North Star. Then also, we want to understand our tone and voice. And this is one of my favorite parts. What is your brand's personality, right? Is your brand going to be funny? Is it going to be witty? Are you going to be super, super serious, relaxed? Are you going to curse in your captions and things of that nature? Is that the way that you want to connect with your audience, which is very possible? Or do we clap back? That's what the little emoji is for. So if you are a brand like a Wendy's or something like that, we've seen all the interesting brands that have no problem getting you together, right? They have no problem responding in a way that's hilarious, probably a little inappropriate, but we love it anyway. Is that your tone and voice? Or do you prefer that you are very buttoned up and that you are overly professional and that you show up in a space that is always clean cut? What is your tone and voice? We want to define that because as we move into the things that are in the social spaces, we want to decide and not get tripped up over how do we want this caption to come across? How do we want this video to come across? Understanding that up front is very, very important. All right. Next, we want to talk about what we believe. Now, we are out of the time in social media land where we get to just fake it. People do actually care about our beliefs, right? They do care about what we believe in, what rights we believe in, what world events will trigger something from us, how we show up in conversations. Now, I will pause to make this caveat here and say, you don't have to say any of that out loud. You define that, right? If things happen in the world and you're like, we know what we believe, but we are not going to say those things in social media spaces, that is up to you, right? Your decision to make. Just make sure whatever decision you make, you stick with it. Because when you change it and you begin to open up about it, then you have to open up about it, right? So what do we believe? What are our core values? And these are going to be some of the things that we connect with our audience on. So while you are not asking them to buy a thing, to commit to a thing from you, what are the other things that we can connect on? Some of those may be what we believe. What is important? Do you care if it's organic? Do you care about recycling? Do you care about the planet? Do you care about spirituality? Are there other things that are embedded in who you are as a company or as an organization that will come across to your audience that's really, really important to them? That is what we're looking for, right? And then this last one may seem obvious, but it's not always. You know what you do, but we don't always communicate that very well. So this last one is to say, how do we communicate what we offer, what problem we're solving, and how we make people's lives better? We always say in marketing, you're giving someone more or less of something. So you're either giving them more time, more energy. Let's say if it's an energy drink of some kind, you're giving them more support, or you're giving them less stress and headaches, less tasks on their to-do list. You are giving them something, more or less of something. But how do you want to communicate that? And we just want to be really clear up front that we know how we communicate what we offer. And again, while that seems very simple, you would be surprised how many people's websites I've been to, social media presences I've been to, where they never actually say the thing that they do. They talk kind of around it. They fluff it up with all the fancy, what they believe is great marketing, but they never actually just communicate in a clear way to their audience what they're offering and how they're supposed to get it, right? Make sure we are very clear on those foundations. Now, if you are looking at the screen saying, yeah, that's great, Jackie, it's wonderful. Now, how am I supposed to do that? It depends. Maybe you're already in motion. I assume most of you who are here have been in business for a little while, and a little while could be just a few months, and that's totally fine. But there are a few things you can do if you have already gotten started. One of the first things is you can audit your current tone and voice. Go back through the things that you've done. Even if you have, right now before you go that you haven't been very strategic, that's okay. Go back, pull examples from current communications, and pay attention to what has happened. Are there inconsistencies in the kinds of captions that you use? Do you find that sometimes you are kind of laid back and other times you're like super, super buttoned up? What are the inconsistencies there? But even further, how did your audience respond to the different types of tones that you've used or the different types of images that you've used? So use yourself as a case study. You don't necessarily just have to move forward with what you want it to be. You can absolutely go back and say to yourself, hey, this has gone well. They've responded very well to this particular thing or this particular way. Maybe we should do more of that. So start by auditing your current tone and voice, auditing other aspects that you're looking to kind of just perfect or really get better at, and then move on from there. Also, and we'll talk more about this middle circle here in just a little while, you want to identify your audience personas, right? And I'm sure you've also heard this before. Create avatars for your target audience. Understand your audience's preferred language. So let me pause on that. Yes, we want to decide who these people are, right? And again, we're going to deep dive into that very, very soon. But I want you to know that not only do we want to know who they are, how old they are, all that kind of fun stuff, but what language do they actually prefer? So while we are talking about you and we are talking about how you want to show up in tone, and if you clap back and if you curse and all that, does your audience speak like that? You want your brand and your business and your organization to be like best friends with your audience. You want them to be very comfortable. So you want to understand the audience language as well. So when you look through your comments or you look at other spaces where you know people in your audience show up, if they are relatable brands, how do they speak? Now, I'm not saying you have to adopt those things. Let me make that disclaimer now, but we do want to understand it. We do want to know what we're dealing with, okay? Then I want you to decide what position you want to take. Now, if you have defined who you are, how you are, what you offer, you also want to decide when my brand speaks in media, we take whatever type of tone. When we speak on social media, we take whatever type of tone, right? So we're confident, and this is just an example. We are confident, we make statements and do not sound unsure, right? We don't get on social media and go, so what do you all think about this? We get on there and we say what it is because we want to be an authority in this space. We want to be seen as an expert or a resource. So deciding how you want to show up in those different spaces in advance can be very helpful. Also, it may be different in different spaces, right? Maybe on social media, you prefer to be more relaxed. We use emojis and we like to be very tongue-in-cheek. We're empathetic, but we're still confident even though we're being relatable. You can define that tone as clearly as you would like so that there is no question for you or anyone who is managing your social media to know how you want your brand to show up. Let me know right now in the comments if all of that makes sense to you. Just give me an emoji. Let's see how many of you know how to work the emojis on your computers. I don't know if you're watching on a phone. Let me know if that makes sense to you, okay? And while I wait for the chat to blow up, now let's talk about them. Yes. Oh, I love the little happy with the hearts. I appreciate that. I like you do know how to use your computers. That's wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Perfect sense. Thanks, Brianna. I appreciate that. All right. We've talked about you again. You're great. Love you. You're awesome. So glad you're here. It's not about you. Just want to break that down for you real quick. Okay. I love it. Start, y'all. I love some chat energy. Thank you. So let's talk about them. We are here to follow their heart and not just ours. So your heart matters. I promise. Love you. We're going to follow their heart. So let's dive into that a bit. Now we want to know them. And I will tell you right now, marketing is creepy. Okay. And I just hear me out. It's a little creepy, right? We have so much data out here available to us. And I always warn people to stay in the light, right? Stay in the light. Don't go onto the dark side with the data. Don't use your marketing knowledge powers for evil, right? But we do want to know enough to be able to get the things done that we want to get done. So we want to be highly specific about defining our audience, right? We want to build those avatars, really, really understand who it is that we're after. And then every communication, every post, every piece of content that we make should be to that person. Like, we want to be able to say, here is a person, her name is Jackie, she has red hair and she has a child and she lives in Birmingham, Alabama. When I make this piece of content, Jackie is going to die laughing because she thinks this kind of stuff is hilarious when some child trips over a duck, whatever it might be. It's after 5 o'clock, so I'm making stuff up. But we want to know that it's relatable, right? Thank you, Tammy. I'm glad you think that I'm funny. All right, now, when we get ready to know them, and here comes some of that really, really boring marketing stuff, there are demographics and there are psychographics. Let's get the demographics part out of the way, because I feel like you've heard this before. How old are they? Where are they located? What language do they speak? How much money do they make? What is their family makeup? All of those very, very, hardcore, those questions they like to ask you at the beginning of a survey that you're like, ugh, I am a female. I am this age, that kind of stuff. Now, that's important for a lot of reasons. Now, soapbox moment here. Marketing should be introduced very early in the process of deciding things for your business. Okay. So yes, social media, which is more front lines, but when you're deciding how much a thing costs, when you're deciding, whether you're going to open a brick and mortar, when you're deciding how people are spending their dollars, understanding whether that's a decision between going and buying something wholesale for the family because they have 5 children, and whether they're going to buy your luxury item is very important to understand. So knowing these demographics helps you understand what kinds of choices your audience is having to make. If you have a top tier, very expensive item, and then your income, average for the people who are coming your way cannot afford it. My best example is Chanel purses. I love Chanel purses. Can I buy a bunch of them? Absolutely not. One, my husband would probably not be my husband. 2, I think they're very pretty, but they're definitely not, I go to Target, right? When I want to just get a regular bag, but I do like to look at it. So I'm in their audience, but I may not be their target audience. The people who treat that as a splurge and not necessarily a lifestyle, that may not be their target audience. So understanding that really helps you know what you're dealing with. So that's the demographic side. But then let's move to the psychographic side. Aside from that, and this will remind you of a conversation we had about you, what do they care about? What are their interests? What stage of life are they in, right? My light goes off automatically. So if you see me waving my hands in the air like I just don't care, that's because we're trying to reserve power around here. All right. So what do they care about? What are their interests, their beliefs? Where are they in life, right? And this is enough. Thank you, Target. Yes, I love people who love Target. I got distracted. I'm sorry. It's important that you know where they are in their journey of life, because again, if I am having to consider buying a home, which means I'm considering a mortgage, which means I'm paying attention to my credit, and I'm very careful in how I move my money around, that may matter to the type of business that you have. So aside from knowing that I can afford it, am I in the place of life where that matters to me, right? If you have very hyper-specific things going on in your business, let's say you are in a wedding industry, are these people at the age where they're thinking about getting married? And maybe they aren't, one, hopefully they only get married once. If they're like me, it might be twice. But where are they in that stage of life? Does that matter to them at this point? We want to know that about them. So we have to be just a little creepy and really dig into who these people are and what it is that they want. Now, again, please stay in the light with this information, but we want to be as specific as possible. And if you have people who you've worked with in the past, and you know that they are the perfect person for your service or your product, use them as your avatar and develop out. Now, Colleen mentioned something, the marketing hub that is within Mastercard's digital doors. And as we talk about what is important to our audience, and as we think about the different ways that we look at things, one of those resources that's in there is a visual brand performance platform that's really, really good about helping you test out imagery for your audience. Of course, you need to know who it is that you're testing it for. You want to have an understanding about your audience, but it's important that you know that you can go in here, you can use AI to help you understand what your audience might respond to and what kinds of people that these images and these types of things attract. So I want to just make sure you know that that resource is there, and there is a great discount, and we love that, don't we? I know I do. I don't know about you, but I love a good discount. All right, back to knowing them. Now, in a social media space, right, we need to know a little more. So you have to put your ear to the street. It was called Visit. I see your question, Juliet. And when you get into Marketing Hub, you'll see everything is right there, right up front. You shouldn't have any problem finding it. And I know Colleen is in the chat and she can drop that in there for you. But let's talk about some ways you can do some social listening, hashtags and searches. Now, hashtags, I have a kind of love-hate relationship with them right now, and that's okay. That's my own personal problem. I will not use this as a therapy session, but it is important that you know what else is going on under that hashtag. So while we often think, let me just put this hashtag social media marketing, hashtag marketing tips, hashtag MasterCard for life, whatever it is, I might decide to put in my hashtags, maybe my personal preference. But when someone is actually using those hashtags, what other information is showing up there? Maybe what you think is a really cool and unique hashtag, or what might be really obvious, is not as obvious as you think. Maybe there is some other campaign that is strong and has thousands of people that use that hashtag that you had no clue about. You need to go and search it and look at it and scroll through it and decide for yourself, is this the kind of space that I want my content to show up in? Or what is showing up here? Because that becomes a part of your competition, right? If people are following a certain hashtag or keeping up with it, these are the things that you are beside. So you want to know where it falls in the feed, and is your stuff look comparable to other things? Like, that's a really good way to understand what your audience is seeing. Also, pay attention to your competition, right? Now, check this out. I hear a lot of people say the words, and it always hurts my heart. I'm not looking around at other people. I don't care what they're doing. You should, because you know who does know what else is going on? Your audience does. They shop around, no matter what you offer, from retail products all the way to medical care. People look around. So if they know, you should know. What does your audience say about your competition? Are there brands or other offerings that they absolutely love? You need to be aware of those things. Why do they love them, or why don't they love them? What do they do well? These are things that are great for you to know and understand. It helps you understand your position in the space. And as we said in the last section, knowing what part you want to play in that conversation is really, really important. But you cannot know that if you don't know who's out there. So please don't fall into that trap. Also, gather and try. If you see that there are hashtags that are doing very well in the industry or space that you're in, if you see that there are things that, show up in your industry, yes, they're competition, but they're pretty standard for your industry. You see them a lot. Cool. All right. Let's take some of those elements and try them out and make them our own. We're not stealing content. We're just going to make sure that we're keeping an industry standard. So let me make sure I say that very clearly. We do not steal content. We do not copy content. We may be inspired. I'm such a marketer. We may be inspired by the content, but we do not steal content. All right. Just want to say that out loud. Don't want any problems out there. Now, also in the knowing of them, we do want to figure out where they hang out, right? So I remember in one of these videos I put on LinkedIn, I was talking about how I was not going to be very platform specific. I can't, it's just not enough time, right? As a matter of fact, I hope that the team is going to tell me when I have like 5 minutes. I need to know that. So where do they hang out, right? Platform information is everywhere. This is a Google search. I did not waste slide space trying to explain to you who is on Facebook, who is on LinkedIn, who is on TikTok. If you Google search Facebook demographics, it's going to just pop up. There's going to be 1 million people who have regurgitated that information for you. And what we want to see is if these people that we defined in these avatars with the demographics, do they match up with this platform? If they don't, why are you there? Ask yourself. That may be your favorite platform, but why are you there? If they don't match up, if they don't overlap, you're in the wrong place. We want to be where our audience is because we are following their heart and not just ours. I love Instagram. That's where you basically can find me all the time, whether I'm actually talking out loud or not. I'm probably in stories doing something ridiculous, but that's what I like to do. As far as my audience is concerned, Instagram is not it, not for 1 degree marketing, maybe for other aspects of our brand, but otherwise I need to be on LinkedIn, which I don't really do that much either. So don't be like me, be better than me. But also, you know where they are. You just don't like it. For those of you who are out there right now who know that you need to be on a platform that you just don't personally like, stop doing that. This is your sign to just cut it out, okay? You know where they are. Stop that. Really simple, not gonna overcomplicate it. Also, the other thing that we wanna know about these platforms is not only where are they, but what kind of content do they want in those spaces, right? What do they want the interaction with your brand to be? That's a really, really powerful question. So great, we know who they are, we know who we're talking to, we know that they like to be on LinkedIn. Perfect, we're gonna be on LinkedIn. But what do they care about when they're there? Are you giving them something of value? Are you giving them more or less of something, even in a social media space? Like, yes, there's the offering itself, but how are you making their life better even in this space? Yes, our offering, yes, we want to ask for money, that's wonderful. But what do they want from you? Do they want to talk? Do they want to high five and say, yes? You know, y'all know how people do. Do they want relatable content? Do they want information? Do they want tutorials? What do you find gets the most engagement from people in your industry? And that's what we want to start pumping out. So 1, where are they? Where do they like to hang out? Why aren't you there? If you are there, what kind of conversations are we having? How are we showing up? What kind of content do they like? Let's make more of that. Does that make sense? Hope so. So I'm going to wait for you in the chat to tell me that it makes sense. And I'm going to review what we know so far. We know who we are. We can clearly communicate our value, what we offer, what problem we solve, what we believe our language and our audience's language are. Yes, come on, exclamation points. Y'all feel the energy? You feel that? Feels so good. All right. We also know who we are, right? Oh, that says the same thing twice. Don't you hate when you don't see a problem on a slide until it's happening? Oh, so awkward. So we know who they are and who we are. We know their pain points. We know what language they prefer, where they like to hang out on social media, what kind of content they like. We know about their lives outside of social. We know, that they have kids. We know that they hide in the bathroom from their kids because that seems like the only place where they can get quiet. And so we need to be on Instagram because that's what they do before all the kids wake up. Like all those little weird, quick, quirky things, they matter. So this is what these last 2 sections have been about. They are the most powerful things that you have to work with. Trust me when I say it. And Olivia is hiding in the bathroom right now. Oh, I feel you, Olivia. I feel you. All right. Wake up, okay? If you are falling asleep out there, I apologize that MasterCard has set you up for this boredom, but please wake up and stay with me, okay? I'm not gonna say it out loud. Follow the instructions on the screen if you are still awake. Gonna take a deep breath. It's a lot of words, guys, a lot of words. All right, okay. I like very, very, very good emojis. I love it. All right. Let's take it to social media, okay? Well, before we get there, and yes, I have to actually build in these reminders for myself. Before we actually get into social media, let me make this disclaimer because it's really, really important when I'm talking to small business owners, especially entrepreneurs who are trying to do as much as they can with what they have. And usually that's time, and we just don't have a lot of that. You can do all of these things that I am talking about right now while you are continuing to do the things you're doing. So while you're hearing me say all this great stuff about how you need to develop out your avatar better and do all this stuff, you don't have to stop what you're doing. Go ahead and keep that, just stay consistent with what you have. Carve out a little bit of time to start to deep dive. You can do both things at the same time. I am not advising you to today when we hang up from this and you're like, man, that girl's talking 50 miles an hour, good grief. And then you stop everything you had scheduled that you're doing. And then you decide, cool, I'm going to do this new thing. That's not what we're doing. You can do all of this stuff while continuing to stay in motion with what you have. That work, honor it. It's still fine. We'll just make adjustments as we go. So I want to make sure you know that there's liberty in that. It does not have to be perfect as soon as we get done. Okay. All right. Let's actually take it to social media this time. I promise, for real this time. Okay. Just stick with me. All right, so let's talk goal setting and metrics, not necessarily everyone's favorite thing, but I want you to know that it should be. We want to begin with the end in mind. So when you're setting goals for social media, it helps you really understand the worth and value of the space. And nobody knows how hard you have to prove the worth of social media like I do. Convincing people that they should invest in their social media presences is the story of my business life. So I know it can be difficult if you have a team or if you have leadership that you have to talk to about it, or if you're just trying to decide where your dollars go. I get it, but we want to begin with the end in mind. So first things first, what is your definition of success? That answer is not a social media answer first. It is a business, brand, or organization answer. I've said before, and I will always say, social media is not a standalone activity. It should not just be a thing you do that is like, hey, I'm just going to post today, or yeah, we just want to show up in this way. It should be directly tied to your brand, business, organization goals. So your definition of success should be a reflection of what is happening in your business. I cannot stress that enough. If you don't hear anything else I say today, please hear that social media is not a standalone activity. It should be rooted in what your business is doing, all right? Also, you want to understand what social media metrics reflect progress for those goals, right? We want to match up the business goals and whatever those metrics are internally for your business. We want to match those to social media goals, right? We want to figure out what metrics reflect and support what's happening in your business. It is not the other way around. They are not disconnected, okay? I love you. So real bad. I love you. Okay. Now, your question may be, how am I supposed to know that? Like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm supposed to know that, right? I don't have a clue. Well, here is an example. Okay. All right. Maybe your goal is brand awareness. Okay. We're going to start with kind of a especially if you're a service provider, this is probably going to be one of your favorite slides. Maybe you need to cast a wider net because you want to be front of mind when it is time for people to make this decision. So maybe in your business, and I'll use myself as an example since I'm a service provider, maybe my goal is to have larger clients who have larger marketing budgets. That is my goal. And the way that I'm going to know that is by what types of discovery meetings I'm able to schedule, the quality, what kind of revenue that they have. These are going to be my internal goals. But as it pertains to social media, I do need to still cast a really wide net for a lot of reasons. One, I don't know who knows who out there. I don't know who works for who. I just know that I want them to appreciate and understand my brand so that when it's time to make that decision, they're like, oh, yeah, that it's like a number and like a temperature, 1 degree. I need that, right? I need that brand awareness. So I need to show up. So followers maybe matters to me because that tells me I'm casting a wide net. Organic followers, not the kind that you get with the bots, okay? Impressions, how many times a post has been seen. Now, there are definitions to all of these metrics out there in the World Wide Web, right? So Googling it and saying, give me a list of all the metrics for social media for a particular platform that you're on, super easy to do. It is a Google search. But remembering that impressions include repeats and unique views. So this is not only telling me, and this is why this matters, it not only tells me that it's been viewed this many times, but it's very possible that 10 people are coming back and looking at it over and over and over again. Maybe that's because my content is very educational and they love that kind of content. Maybe that's the case. If I care to know that they are unique, then maybe post reach matters to me. Maybe I need to make sure that I know how many unique set of eyes got their eyes on it. This tells me that it's not 1,000 people. It is 25 people who just like to come back and look at it over and over again. That defining difference makes a difference in whether I'm actually getting brand awareness or if I'm getting repeat people, right? That makes sense? Okay. Now, website traffic may also matter, and that's important as well. Maybe in the pipeline of all of this, I want to know that not only am I casting this really great wide net, but that people are going further than social media, and I'm pulling them back to my website because I need them to follow that path in order to commit to scheduling some time, downloading something, or whatever the next step in my little funnel or my path for my audience is. So that's how I would match my business goals to my social media goals, or to establish them. So maybe I'm looking for an increase in followers. I want an increase in post reach. I want to understand the impressions, even though I may not set a hard goal for those impressions. Or maybe I set an impressions goal for the content that is a resource that's giving tips and tricks and things of that nature. All of that may be how I set up the metrics side by side. So that can be a little complicated. I hope it makes sense. But let's take a more tangible approach and say conversions, right? So this can be revenue or non-revenue. I always feel like it's easier when it's like I'm getting people to buy something and they go buy it. So we're going to focus on something more non-revenue, right? So maybe link clicks matter to me. So if my goal is to have people come to a site, if my goal is to have people come and sign up for an email newsletter because I need them to be more personal with me for me to make my ask or make my sell, that's the natural journey of my audience, then link clicks may matter. It shows me if they're actually interested in going to the next step. Maybe I need to track that number. When I put up this post, how many people are actually clicking on this link? If I have a newsletter, I'm asking people to sign up. How many people are actually going to it from these posts? When I say, hey, sign up for our email list. If I have a form within that platform, which happens on multiple, Facebook, LinkedIn, give you the opportunity to have people fill out a form and then be able to respond to you, right? So are there forms that we want people to fill out to come back to us? Maybe that's a metric that you need to track. And any call to action, right? If you're asking them to do a thing, there is a metric out there for you, okay? That is really, really important. Now, I want to know that that makes sense to you. I'm sure there are questions. There are always questions as it pertains to that, but we want to have a general understanding of it. Now, we got to make the metrics make sense, okay? So now that we know that the metrics match up with your goals, now what do we do with that? We want to add numbers, right? And that's part of what I was just saying. Deepen your definition of success. Our business goals are this. Here are the metrics internally for us. They probably have numbers to them, right? Then also, what number represents the goal that I've achieved it? Great. I've got my number set. I want this much increase in followers, this much increase in reach, this much increase in link clicks or conversions in whatever way. Then you want to add the dates to it, right? Here are the steps we're taking to give us something that's repeatable. In what time frame are you going to reach said numbers? We need a time frame, because if you say we're going to increase our followers by 25%, that is wonderful for you. Now you have from now until forever to make it happen. Not acceptable. What time frame are you going to do it? Let us know, put it down somewhere, right? Make it clear. But then we want to also say, at what point are we going to check on this? So if we say in 6 months, we want to double our followers, which is aggressive, and I love that for you, but also be prepared to go hard. Are we going to check this 2 months in, 3 months in, right? Are we going to do that? And if so, is that enough time for us to change what we're doing? Or we're like, no, we're sticking this thing out. There are no changes because the time frame is too tight. You need to know that going in. So not only do we want to, let's back up here in our steps, business goals, in the metrics that we measure that for internally, what social media actions can support that, and what metrics reflect success in those spaces. What are the numbers? How much time do we have to do it, and when are we going to check in? Right? Sounds simple. It never really is, but I do a great job of making it sound simple. Also, pro tip, tell somebody. If you're the only person who knows and you wrote it in that one little notebook that you dream in, I'm talking about myself, by the way, and nobody knows that but you, your team doesn't know, your business friends don't know, the mastermind that you join and that you pay for don't know, then we are not allowing people to say, hey, how is it going? Or, hey, here's an issue. I see that you're not really moving. Is there something I can do to support you? There's so many things that could happen when you share this out loud. Okay. Now, first, before I tell you about one of these other marketing resources that are in the hub, I want you to hit the chat for me because I just said a whole lot and I want to know that you still love me and that we're still friends. Y5, let me know in the chat. While you light the chat up, with love and happiness. There are some other resources that are in the Let Your Light Shine. I love this. Oh, thank you. Y'all are wonderful. Man, I'm going to have to screenshot some of this. And when I'm having a bad day, I'm going to just replay all of this. Y5, Tammy, thank you. Now, Triple Whale is one of the marketing resources that you have in the MasterCard Digital Doors Marketing Hub as a resource. And Triple Whale is what you would use if you have a Shopify store. So it is very specific to Shopify, but it is great for analytics. So while we're talking about the numbers and the data and all that kind of wonderful stuff, it's going to give you an opportunity to have an easy to use dashboard that gives you real-time insights that you need to grow your brand. So if you have a Shopify store, this is a great thing to help you create a dashboard that helps you better run your business. Thank you, Olivia. I love that specific comment from you. I'm telling y'all, man, MasterCard team, I really hope that y'all can just run me a replay of the chat. They are really helping my life right now. Also, in the marketing resource hub that you have there in MasterCard's Digital Doors is another resource called Yield Day. And Yield Day also is using some real-time data to help you make better decisions about your platforms, about what you're doing. So please make sure you go through and check those things out. These partners are so important because they are offering something to us small business owners for a lower cost. And we love that, right? Again, I love to save money. That's why I shop at Target and not Chanel. All right. So here's where we are. This is what we know. We know who we are, and clearly the copy and paste was strong here. We know who they are, and we know our goals, right? And we're talking through this presentation, through the journey. We know what we're trying to get out of the content that we create and publish. That is the goal. We know what the numbers are. We know what the metrics are. We know why it matters to our business. This is where we want to have arrived in all of this, okay? Here we go. Yes. It took all of this just to start creating social media content. Welcome to my world, mind blown, right? So knowing these foundations, and this is really important that I share with you, it is the secret sauce. I have a few little ingredients to the secret sauce, but this is one of the strongest ones. When you know all of the things before what's forward here in this presentation, when you know everything that's behind us, all the rest of this is so much easier. You have no idea how much easier it is to create content quickly when you know who you're talking to, what they care about, how they like to speak about it. You know what their pain points are. You know how to frame that in a way that makes sense to them. All you have to do now is get into your favorite thing to create graphics, get out here with a camera or iPhone or whatever it is that you're using and create content that relates to that avatar that you define so well. That is made exponentially easier if you have done the work before. So please take time, do all that boring marketing stuff that I had to pay the University of Alabama for. I just gave it to you for free 99. So you go do that and it'll be a lot easier, all right? Planning content, we're gonna start with the plan. Planning content helps you create cohesive and intentional content that attracts and keeps the right audience in a way that reaches your goal. The paralysis around all of this stuff, yes, Colleen, I can. The paralysis around all of this stuff is around planning. So we're going to speed up so I can make sure we get everything in. So here are some of the things that help you with the planning of it. Build a repeatable process, okay? Time frame. What length of time is this for? Is it quarterly? Is it monthly? It is not shorter than monthly. Please, let me just go ahead and tell you, don't even test that out, okay? Just monthly or better. How often are you trying to post? Now, if your question to me that you dropped in the Q&A is, Jackie, how often should I post on LinkedIn? I'm gonna go ahead and answer that now. So if that's up there in the Q&A, I'm gonna go ahead and kill that answer right now. As often as you can maintain. That is the answer. Algorithms favor consistency. Quantity is great, but if it is unrealistic for you to maintain some super high number of posts, that is not the number for you. What I need you to do is show up well and consistently. If that is one post a week for you right now, then it's one post a week. When you master that one, then it can be two. When you master that two, it can be three. That is your answer. Yes, there are best practices and suggestions that I can make to you, but if you can't do them, then that does not serve either one of us. So what time frame are we planning for? How often are we trying to plan? Then, and I'm giving you what my team does here at One Degree for clients. People actually pay us money for this. Can you believe it? I can, it's great. What we want to do is go through and think about what I like to call dropping your anchors. What are the things that are happening in your business? Team member happenings, anniversaries, sales, launches, things that have a date on them already that you know you're going to say. All holidays, all that kind of stuff. That stuff doesn't change. Drop those things on your calendar. It may be 25% full at this point. Also, are there any cyclical things in your industry that you can put on your calendar? If you sell ribbon and it is time for Christmas and you know that it's about to turn up because everybody needs ribbon and they're trying to be really cutesy and they want to make all their presents look amazing, then it's time for you to do something great, right? Okay, cool. So what are those things that help you kind of pull out really easy, obvious content? Also, thinking about your avatar, what's happening in their lives? If it's back to school time, but you sell things that are related to vacations, that might not be the time for you, right? So what else is going on in their lives? What's on their mind during this time frame that you're planning for? And how can you help them, support them, meet them where they are, right? Then tie it together. What conversation can you have over this time frame that makes sense? Can you use a holiday to trigger some content or a conversation with your audience? Then also, how does it actually support your goals? Does it push sales? Does it get the new followers? What theme can move the metrics for you? Because again, we've set goals, and even though it may not be the ideal time for us, there may be a way for us to still move things along, right? Also, what calls to action support those things? So do you need to tell them to always be telling them to do something if you can? It's like a training. Comment, like, and share are also calls to action. It does not just have to be buy from me, sign up for it, give me your time and money. It does not just have to be that. Follow, like, join, pay. What are you asking them for to support all of that? Okay, almost done. I promise. All right, give me like 3 minutes. I ran out of icons, y'all, so this Santa Claus just made it in the end. Sorry about that. All right, now in a perfect world, this is what we do now with the plan, okay? In a perfect world, what does this dream content look like? This is before we have made anything, okay? We haven't made anything yet, but what does it look like if it were in a perfect world? Then we wanna make a list of what that content would be and what we would need to make it happen. That's right, you get it, Kalia. Make a list, check it twice, Santa Claus. See, I knew that icon was next level. All right, then bring it back to reality, right? If your ideal perfect world and that list that you have is super, super long, you don't have 50,000 cameras and you don't have a drone and you don't have a big tank of water, because what you really want is for somebody to dive in like the Little Mermaid. If you can't do that, okay, let's bring it back to reality and let's make it the thing that we need it to be, okay? Lay it out, understand what it is that you need. Then we want to be honest about how we're going to actually get it done. Using the Big Rock method to create your content is really important. If you want to dump all of the ideas, all the information, all the things, all create the videos, all of this kind of stuff, and then slice off what it is that you're going to use, that is a great way to do it. Dump all the stuff. Don't worry about how it's going to get on social. Once you have it all created, then come back and decide this is an Instagram post. This is a LinkedIn post. This will make a great video. This will make a great series. This will make a great blog post. Dump it first. Trust me, it helps the paralysis. Also, figuring out, do you need help, right? Do you need help with this? Is there anyone that you can call on, hire, barter, whatever you need to do out here in these small business streets? Then put it on your calendar, make a date with it so we know it's real. You can have all the dreams in the world, but until you say when it's going to happen and actually do it, all of this stuff is just theory. All right, really quickly, scheduling and management. You've done all the work. You know what you want to do. You created content. Nobody out here wants to have to post it manually. So scheduling helps you eliminate that paralysis. Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn now have native scheduling tools, which means you can go in there, create your post, and then set the day and time in the future that is going to go up, right? So if you are worried about cost or something like that, that is an option for you. But I want you to know that in the MasterCard Digital Doors Marketing Hub, Hootsuite is a great scheduling tool. And because they are partners, they have a little something for you. So if you are looking for a scheduling platform, you can use Hootsuite and give that a try. I do want to also make sure I remind you, if you're going to try out different platforms and they have a free, time frame for you to try it out for free, like there's a word there I'm trying to remember. When you get to do it for free for a little while. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know, I'm having a blank moment. Maybe I should.
Free trial.
Trial. Come on, Colleen. Thank you for the assist.
All right. No problem.
Thank you in the chat. Y'all help me out here. It's been a lot. So if you have a trial for something, be prepared to use the trial. Do not just sign up for it because it's free. Stop that. Stop doing that. That's a waste of time. Do all the stuff we talked about. And when it's time to use that trial, get in there and actually use it to understand if when you start to spend money on it, it is worth your money. Do not waste your free trials. Okay. Don't do that. Now, promise I'm almost done. Now, after you have created it, planned it, scheduled it, you do have to interact with people. You have to manage it. Like comments, reply back to people, answer their questions. Follow them back. If they always show up on your stuff, go follow them. How excited would they be if you went and talked on their stuff too? Be social. It's social media, so they say. Make them feel special. They are the hero of your story. Also, organic invitations for growth are still a thing. Don't be so proud to beg. Get on there and ask people to go join, follow, and all of that kind of stuff. Join me over here. Hey, I'm doing this thing, because what we all know is on these social media channels, people like the people more than they like the brands. So if you need to use your own lightning power to light that thing up, light it up. We need you to do that. Get involved. Okay. I am done. I got as much as I could in there for you. And so now that I have fallen out in this webinar situation, I am going to I think we're going to move to questions.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to stop my share so that you can see my face. Hey.
Jackie, thank you so much for keeping the energy up, and thank you all for being so engaging. It's hard when it's such a big group, but I think we did it, and we do have some fabulous questions. So I have to give a shout out to Olivia because she had the first couple of questions in there early.
Okay.
Her first question was, how do we convert followers to email subscribers and then ultimately to sales? And there's some similar questions in there from others. How do you convert strangers into followers? So
I know, right? It's like, you don't even know me. How am I supposed to convince you to give me your time, attention, email address, and money? It's so much. Such a commitment. And that's a great question. And a part of that in kind of what we talked about today is about really understanding what journey it is you want your customers to take. So I do want you to, in very kind of back in the day, pen and paper, really draw out what the journey of your audience could be. So we're thinking very sales funnel here, right? We have this wide top. We have all the spaces that they become aware of us. Whatever social media platforms you're using, in other digital marketing platforms, right? If you do pop-ups or events, if you go to networking things and hand out business cards or flyers, whatever that wide top is, right? Great. And then we want to just slowly decide what bridges we have to create to help them get closer and closer. Now, for emails or conversions in general, the question is, are you leading them that way? So one, just ask. And give them something of value. If you're using an email list and you get on, I'll give you an example, right? If I get on Instagram right now and did a video and said, hey, I'm going to give you my top 3 ways to plan your content. And I give them some very, very short tips. And I say, I'm actually going to go into great detail about this in our next email. So if you are not on our email list, it does not go out until Friday. Click the link in our bio. I'm just assuming that's what I would say because it's social media, and make sure you are there when I really give all the goods in this email, but I'm only giving it to the email list. So when we think about social media spaces, we think about digital marketing spaces. If you're doing all the same things in all those spaces, there's really no reason for me to be in all of them. So you've got to create some type of Fear of missing out, FOMO, we've got to create some type of exclusive happening that makes people know that there is a value in you giving me this information and this access to you. So making sure your content reflects that bridge that is being built to something different, something that you know they care about because you know and you understand them, that's what you're looking for those conversions. I hope that answers your question, Olivia. Let me know in the chat if it does. What else we have, Colleen?
So Shauna had a really interesting question, which is, what if the demographic and digital following that we see online is different than the people who actually come into our store?
That's good. We got a little bit of a mismatch situation going on. Well, a few questions could be there actually. Is your audience who you think it is? So, and I say that to say what your intended message and your intended way of showing up for an audience is and what the actual perception are may not be the same thing, right? And that's something to pay attention to. So if your space, if the things that you offer, the things that you sell in your brick and mortar, in your physical space, the way the imagery, the color choices are, let's just say, brighter and younger and more youthful or something of that nature. I don't know how you have a young color, but just go with me here. If they represent something that really attracts a younger crowd, but when you're on social media, you use heavier colors or the photos don't really reflect that same kind of energy, then you may find that that's why that's the case. But also, you may just want to ask a few people and make sure what you think you're putting out there in the world is really landing in that way. You may have all the intent in the world and it's not landing that way. So I would, if I were involved, I would start with asking, surveying people, what kind of content do you like? What do you like about our content? And then the people who are coming in, what attracts you in here, and see if you can tell where the things are off. And maybe if you aren't showing up in the space quite right. That may be a thing, and maybe the content needs to be tweaked, but also maybe your message needs to be tweaked. So that's really hard to put in a social media frame only, but I do hope it answers your question.
Thanks, Jackie. Brianna asks if you have any data website that we can use to find out whether we have enough prospective customers, clients that are available to pursue. I think you gave a couple of tips for Google search on this earlier.
Yeah, so Google is one of the greatest, just is so much data there. And most of it is free to us, most of it. So there are some tools within Google. And because I don't have all these things right in front of me, I don't want to start throwing out the names of them, but there are ways for you to kind of search industries, search, look and see how many people are searching for particular types of things. Keywords will really help you with that, to see if they're looking for the things that you're looking for. So when you think about Google keyword searches, and I feel like if I type really quickly, maybe I can. So Google Keyword Planner might help you understand if those keywords are coming up regularly, if people are searching for them, and it will tell you how many people are searching for them to help you understand what kind of motion and movement that you're getting. Otherwise, we would want to use our demographics, right? So if you know that there are certain people that need certain things, need to meet certain requirements in order to buy from you, how much money they make, where they're located, if you're brick and mortar, or if they travel, if you care about travel, traffic, that kind of thing. So understanding that, and then looking at census data, looking at whether you actually have enough people in your area to support what it is you're doing, whether the income level will carry that, like all of that kind of data is how we match that up. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks. So a similar question from Autumn. She's asking for a suggested approach to make sure your messages are getting in front of the target market. And she gives examples like hashtags, Facebook lookalike audiences, etc.
Yeah, when we think about like lookalike audiences, we're kind of in an ad space typically. So if we're talking paid social, paid digital, then yes, lookalike audiences are great. Because that's not our conversation today, I'm going to take a sharp left and not run down that rabbit hole too hard. Yeah. But making sure that it gets in front of the right places organically or the right people organically is about all of these things that we talked about today, which is making sure that you understand. And it sounds strange and maybe very self-serving to say, just do what I said. So I hope it doesn't come across that way, but it is important to know, hey, am I in the right place based on what I know about the people that I'm trying to reach? When I'm there, am I giving them the kind of content that they care about, right?
Mhm.
And am I doing that consistently and in a quality way? That's really all you can do. And it's important to really hang your hat on it, because as algorithms, as platforms, as the behaviors and things of that nature change, that organic connection will not change, right? It does not matter what the platforms do. If you know that they care about this kind of content, that it's important to them and the reasons it's important, and you can speak that language, you can survive the test of time. But are you showing up like that in the first place is the very first thing I'd ask. Then when you get into a paid space, you take all that great content that you know is resonating with your audience organically, and then you start putting money behind it. And then you start taking what you know about your audience to be true in an organic space, and then starting to do the lookalike audiences and all that kind of stuff. So we want to still work in the organic understanding space, using the data, the information that we know, the things that we're after, and then move into the paid spaces.
Great. We have an anonymous question from someone who I believe is a photographer. I know the presentation wasn't industry specific, Jackie, but this person is asking about building their brand. Any tips for someone who is promoting their photography online?
Yeah, so I will zoom that out a bit just to see if we can hit a couple people. So anyone who is in a creative space, photography, videography, those types of services in general, content creation in general, there are a few ways. And so I would say, if you are, the hard part, I think, or the challenge that you may have is that when people hire you to create content for them or to take photos, those are theirs, and you don't always necessarily want to lead with their stuff. So I think that building into your process, especially when you're service oriented, hey, I want to be able to use this as a portfolio item. One, is that okay with you? And I'm going to choose mine from the ones you did not choose, right? Because one pet peeve that I think is important to be careful of is that you don't have people feeling a way that you're sharing their content in your space and it's theirs to use how they want, right? They want to get all the hits and all the attention from it. So you got to be careful of that. But when you're in a service like that, even content creation, you also may want to lead with what makes you different. How do you make the experience different? What goes into you setting up for? What kind of equipment do you use? Help me understand the value, right? Why are you charging me $50 million to take photos? I'm charging you that because I'm going to get up here, I'm going to climb this tree, I'm going to drop the leaves from the top, and then I'm going to run down to the bottom and take the photo before the leaves fall in front of your face. That's how good I am. Pay me my $50,000, right? So help me understand that in your content. Take me through the journey with you. Give me the experience. Give me those testimonials that said that, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that they really came and just turned this one tree into fall so that I can have brown leaves, even though it was spring. Like whatever it was, we want those testimonials. So really dig into those things. That would be really helpful to make people know how different the experience is. And that's about knowing what's important to your customer. You know them, you know what kind of photography you do. What do they care about when they're in that place in life, right? Just want to make sure we bring that back to understanding your audience and what they care about.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for one, maybe two more tops, but
Okay.
Olivia also asked, what's your advice for someone who is thinking about just starting out with social ads?
I'm going to resist the urge to
Kind
say
of broad, right?
I'm going to resist the urge
Yeah.
to say don't do it. Social ads is such a slippery slope. If I look stressed, it's because I am. I will say this, every platform is a little different when it comes to social ads. And I will say, like in a Facebook/Instagram space, boosting posts is where I encourage people to start. And that's because it still requires that you take an organic approach. But when you see it's in motion, then it's like pushing a snowball down a hill. Instead of you going in and trying to craft some perfectly created ad that is not going to feel like an ad in front of people, and it's just you and you're trying to figure that out, that can be very difficult. It's difficult for the team that I have. And we actually claim we do this for a living, right? And so doing that alone can be really hard. But if you have content that is naturally doing well, and you see that it is in motion, put some dollars behind it and get it in bigger motion, right? You've already kind of proven that the content resonates, and that's a good way to just get started. Now, when it comes to ad spaces, all these platforms can be very, very difficult to navigate, especially Meta. Will be very honest with you. I swear it's like they move stuff every day. Where it is, how it shows up, what it's going to look like, all that stuff can be a lot to deal with. So I would encourage you to seek some support and get someone who does that for a living. Even if you don't pay them to do it for you, pay them to consult with you about what it is you're doing, tutorials, learn, and then jump in there and do what you can. I'm also going to add the tip of don't spend a bunch of money up front. $25 goes a long way. Start small. Don't jump in with like, oh, I'm going to run $1,000. Give me 975 of that and then run 25 since you just want to give the money away. And then we'll go from there. But start small, test things out, get comfortable, and then go forward. But try to seek some professional assistance to help you with that.
Jackie, last question, and this is a good one. It was asked anonymously. What are your top 3 tips when folks are thinking about hiring a marketing team? What are the key skills or indicators a small business owner should be asking for?
Thank you so much for asking that question, because it's a great one, because at some point you are going to have more money than time and you're going to need somebody else to do it. And whether you're hiring somebody internally or externally, all of these things will really, really matter. So top 3 things I would say are to, one, very, very important, because social media is almost, or marketing in general is intimate almost to your business and to your brand. And it's really important. It has to be collaborative. It has to be a partnership. So one of the top things I would say is make sure you like these people, right? As you interview people, as you look at their work, they can have amazing work, but it can be very difficult to work with them, very difficult to communicate. You may have a hard time feeling comfortable and relaxed, and you have to be able to express your desires and your dreams and goals to them, and them be able to make that happen. You want to feel really comfortable. So yes, it's important that they're capable, but I do want you to work with people that you feel like you can bring some vulnerable moments to. If you need to say, hey, we need $50, $100, $1,000, $1 million additional in revenue, we really need the marketing to support that. You need to be able to be vulnerable in that space and know that they're going to work with you to get it done. So how they work, the fact that they maybe have some idea of their processes, I would be looking at that, and that you feel comfortable when you have a conversation with them, that they're not trying to run over you. They're not trying to run it for you. They're listening to you and they're trying to be partners. That's number 1. Number 2, do check the work. Hear me when I say everybody out here does marketing. Ask me how I know, right? Everybody does marketing. So check their work, ask them for examples, go and look at the things. And if they say they've done it for a time frame, go and look. And if you have questions, ask the questions, right? Ask them, that's okay. Also, don't be afraid to say, hey, we would like to test out working with you. We have a short campaign that we want to do. And if you would give us what your ideas are, we're willing to pay you this much money to show us how you would handle this, whether we use it or not. We will pay you for your time. That will give you an idea as well. So don't be afraid to do something like that and say, hey, can you make 6 posts for us just based on what you see? We're willing to pay you $100 per post, $500 per post, whatever, that relationship looks like. And don't be afraid to do that. So ask for the work, look at it, ask them to create work, pay them for their time to get an idea. The last thing I would say is to make sure it's in your budget, right? It is great. And I will say, as a service provider, there are levels to marketing work, and you may want to go out here and hire somebody who charges $50,000 a month. If that is out of your budget, that is fine. It's okay, right? Find people that can work with, not that are going to give you less quality work for your budget, but are going to meet you where you are with the budget that you have and give you the quality work that you're after. Somewhere there is a company that can do that for you. Find them. Do not settle for, oh yeah, we usually charge $50,000 a month, but all you have is 5. So we'll just scale back how great our work is. That's not what we're after. So somebody you can work with, somebody who has proven that they can do the work or can show you that they can do the work, and then somebody who is going to fall in a budget that you can maintain and be willing to make that investment. Hope that answers your question.
That's fantastic.
Hey.
Thanks, Jackie. That was great. Thank you all for sticking with us. We tried to get through all the questions in the allotted time. Hope you enjoyed it. Please check out the Digital Doors website as well as the Marketing Hub. And if you have any questions, you can email us at digitaldoors@mastercard.com. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time, attention
Absolutely.
so much. Thank you, MasterCard, and to all of the people who are here supporting us. I really appreciate you all so much. Come find me on LinkedIn.
Have a good evening.
Goodbye.
Bye.